The Board of Trustees' regular meeting is now called to order at 4:30 p.m. We welcome members of the public. Instructions on making public comment are posted in item 1 on the agenda. We will ask at each item if there is public comment. Catherine, can you please do roll call?
Yes. Student trustee Gonzalez,
Here.
trustee Rios,
Here.
trustee DeLuna,
Here.
trustee Dodd,
Here.
trustee Kishinev,
Presente.
and we're missing trustee Iverson and trustee Baker, but we expect trustee Baker.
Thank you. Cindy, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag. Public religious statement.
As we gather today, it is important to acknowledge that Napa Valley College and the surrounding Napa Valley sit on the unceded traditional, ancestral, and contemporary homelands of the Miwok, Patwin, who are comprised of 3 federally recognized tribes, the Cochil-Dihi Band of Winton Indians of the Calusa Indian Community, the Quetzal-Dihi Band of Winton Indians, and the Yocha-Dihi Winton Nation, and Wapo, including the Mishawal Wapo, also known as the Onosatis peoples. As part of Napa Valley College's mission of transforming lives through excellent educational and professional opportunities that are student-centered, equity-focused, and community-oriented, and in accordance with the college's values of accountability, integrity, inclusion, respect, social justice, and sustainability, we make this acknowledgement. We also affirm that this acknowledgement is insufficient. It does not undo the harm that has been and continues to be perpetuated against Indigenous people, the land, and water. May we hold steady in our commitment to be in solidarity and in action to seek equity and justice with the Miwok, Patwin, and Wapo peoples. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No,
Just a note that I was not present at the June 13th meeting, so I'd abstain from the approval of those minutes.
Thank you, Trustee Rios. If there are no objections, the agenda is adopted by consensus.
And I actually
Oh.
want to also pull out 4.10
Okay,
and abstain from that.
great.
I'm going to be abstaining from 4.10, so we can pull that out and approve it separately.
which one is that?
4.10.
Oh,
Atkinson, Yeah. okay.
so you're recusing yourself.
I'm not recusing, just abstaining.
Okay.
I don't have a conflict, but I work with them through another organization. So out of an abundance of caution, I just don't want to vote on it. Even on the consent.
I'm sorry, trustee Rios, what was yours? Got it.
And so now the agenda is adopted by consensus.
Yes.
Okay, we'll move on to public comment. This public comment opportunity is governed by the California Brown Act. By definition, this is an opportunity to hear concerns, perspectives, and differing vantage points. The board is not able, under the Brown Act, to engage in any level of conversation or discussion, but we look forward to this opportunity to gather community input. At this time, the board will devote up to 15 minutes to review comment to the Board of Trustees regarding any subject not appearing as an agenda item for this meeting, but over which the board has jurisdiction. No action or discussion will occur at this time on such items. Each comment shall last no longer than 3 minutes. Catherine, is there any public comment?
No, there is not.
Okay, no public comment. Moving on to consent calendar. Does any trustee have questions about any of these items?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar all except, I guess, 4.2 and 4.10 we can do separately.
Why don't I just make the motion? I think you guys have already made your statements on it, and so you don't need to make the motion, trustee DeLuna. I'll make the motion to approve the minutes, which should reflect the abstentions of trustee Rios on consent, or excuse me, minutes, which is 4.2, and trustee DeLuna's abstention from 4.10.
I'll second that.
Okay, great. Trustee Dodd, made the motion and trustee Kishnef seconded. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. Motion's- Okay. All right, general information discussion, Dr. Warnall.
Catherine, would you do it on slide 1, please?
I'm sorry.
Jump just to number 3. Thanks. Good afternoon, board. It's been a few months since my last accreditation update, back in April. And at that time, following the peer review team's visit, we anticipated that 4 of our 6 college requirements that were identified in the January 2023 action letter had been resolved, and that we needed more time to address the 2 remaining college requirements pertaining to the total cost of ownership for physical and technology resources and financial resources. And we also anticipated that the number of accreditation standards cited within college requirement 4 pertaining to financial resources would be reduced from 4 to 2. The possible actions of the commission based on the submission of our follow-up report included either, first one that's listed there, defer action and require a second follow-up report and specify additional information required for the submission not to exceed 12 months with or without a peer review team visit. And the accredited status of the institution continues during that period. Or the other option that we anticipated was to place the college on sanction, which included warning, probation, or show cause, and require a second follow-up report not to exceed 18 months with or without a peer review team visit. And again, the accredited status of the institution would continue during the period of warning, probation, or show cause. And those quotes are lifted from the ACCJC's policy on commission actions on institutions. Catherine, could you advance the slide, please? So last month, we received a new action letter from the ACCJC notifying us of the action taken on NVC based on the follow-up report and site visit. There are no surprises here on this slide in that it reflected the what we had anticipated back in April. So the 2 college requirements that remain to be addressed are college requirements 3 and 4. There are now 2 accreditation standards that are cited within each of those college requirements. There's one pertaining to long-range capital plans and the total cost of ownership of facilities and equipment. That's from standard 3B4. And there's also one pertaining to planning for updating and replacing technology, and that is standard 3C2. Then for CR4, we also have 2 standards cited within that one. So one is pertaining to the sufficiency of financial resources and ensuring financial stability. That's from 3D1. And one is pertaining to the integration of mission, institutional goals, financial planning, and ensuring sound financial practices and financial stability. And that's from 3D2. As anticipated, the total number of standards cited within the 2 college requirements was reduced from 15 to 4. So that is a way of measuring how much we had to do when we heard from the ACCJC in January 2023 and where we are now. So the commission acted to defer action on NVC and require another follow-up report, which will be followed by a site visit. And the follow-up report is due by March 1st of 2025. So that was the first of the 2 options that we were anticipating based on our interpretation of the ACCJC's policies on actions on institution. Again, I want to emphasize NVC's accredited status remains during this period. That's very clear in the ACCJC's policy. So third and final slide. So Dr. Powell and Jim Reeves and I met last month to begin preparation for the 2025 follow-up report. And this is a general timeline for those plans. So I'm divided up by semester. So in fall semester, from August through December, we anticipate providing monthly updates to the campus community, describing the work to address the remaining college requirements. And that will include updates from 3 key district committees that are heavily involved in this work. And that includes the budget committee, the facilities committee, and the district technology committee. December 19th, the final day of the semester, has been identified as the snapshot date for all evidence. And one thing I want to emphasize here is that when we receive the action letter, March 1st might seem like a long way away, but we really only have the fall semester to do the bulk of this work. So and we lost 3 months basically between when we submitted our follow-up report and when we received the action notification from the ACCJC. So in spring 2025, in early to mid-January, we'll be drafting the follow-up report that will then be reflect our recent practices. It will be distributed. The complete report will be distributed to the campus community, first with the extended cabinet and then to the whole campus community. And we anticipate that to be done by mid-January. And the period of review by those groups will be from mid-January to early February. The February board meeting is when you will act to approve the follow-up report, and that will be posted in board docs the week prior to the meeting. So then following your action, I will submit the report by the March 1st deadline. We then anticipate that, so there will be a site visit. We don't know the dates of that yet, but I would anticipate that that would be in late March or early April to give the team time to read the report, have their meetings, and then come plan the visit. I want to emphasize here that the commission action is based on our status as of the time of the visit. And so that I think Dr. Powell and I agree that this is really the best possible outcome and that it does provide us a little additional time to push for final evidence. And what we'll be doing during the site visit is highlighting the work that has been completed and the results even beyond December and through March or April, depending on the timing of their visit. So then the ACCJC will take action on our 2025 follow-up report at their meeting in June. It's usually in early June, so that's anticipated. And we will hear back from them shortly after that, probably within 2 weeks after their meeting time. And I'll let you know the dates of their meeting once they have that scheduled. It's too early to know at this point, given it's a year away. So one thing that when Dr. Powell and Jim and I met is that we discussed that by August, we anticipate having specific deliverables, benchmarks, and timelines to provide the district committees for them to consider at the beginning of the semester to help promote the work that needs to be completed this coming semester. And as you, I'm sure, are aware of, the facilities master plan and the technology master plan will factor heavily into that work that we're doing this semester. That's the update for now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Warnall. Are there any questions?
I'm just curious, I have full confidence that we'll get this done and it will be great. But just on the off chance that it's not, is there another, if is this the last ditch?
So the details are, I would refer you to the action letter, our most recent one. It does say that per the federal requirements, once we're notified of a deficiency that needs to be addressed, we have 3 years to resolve it. And so the date for that is January 2026. So the timing of our follow-up report provides time, additional time for that. So it is possible, again, based on the interpretation of that policy on action on institutions, they then might ask for another follow-up report, or they might take action to move towards some form of sanction. So.
Dr. Warren, just maybe piggybacking off of trustee Baker's question. I know on our tonight's agenda, we have the TCO proposal. But we can't do any sort of facilities master plan, I don't think, and at least it doesn't make logical sense in my mind to do that, which I believe is one of the accreditation requirements also in terms of that we need to address with in the follow-up letter.
That's one way we tend to help address it, yes.
Gotcha. So I think so I guess that's the report would say something like, assuming that we do have the study, the TCO study done. At that time, it'd say something like TCO studies done and we're in the midst of preparing for facilities master plan based on the conclusions of the TCO study. Is that kind of the
Yes,
feedback or?
And again, I would refer you to the peer review team's report because they do emphasize where we were at the time of their last visit, and that helps indicate what the expectation is of the work that we'll complete and document in our upcoming follow-up report. So they did acknowledge that we had an analysis of total cost of ownership, but we had yet to apply that and have it concretely to our existing resources and then fold that into a facilities master plan as well as a technology master plan.
Gotcha.
So that's I think why that agenda item is on the.
Oh, yeah, no,
today.
and that was mentioned to us too, and I think previous presidents' reports too, that was going to be going. I was just curious too, do you think we're going to get another kind of follow-up or is it just, it's a little bit of a crapshoot in terms?
I mean, we're hoping to continue promoting the work, and I should say that
Yeah.
the other option is for them to reaffirm our accreditation status for the remainder of our 7-year cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Right, thank you. All right, to an action item, facilities planning and program services.
Thank you, Vice President Olson. Dr. Warnell provided the perfect segue to this discussion. Could you open that attachment, please, Catherine? This is, we're requesting to retain the services of a facilities firm, a consulting firm, to actually fill in the shell that was completed last year for a total cost of ownership plan for the institution. The total cost of ownership is effectively a projection of costs related to our facilities that goes to inform our future financial planning. And while we have, again, the shell, as Dr. Warnell mentioned, we need to fill it in with the data. What's it costing us per square foot to provide utilities? What's it costing us per square foot to provide custodial support and maintenance support? So this firm has a history of doing that. I did insist that we attach the accreditation standards to the end of the agreement, so we're all on the same page with respect to the deliverables. So this would, from our perspective, effectively address the accreditation standard to align our capital expenses for facilities TCO, total cost of ownership, with our budget considerations.
Hey, are there any questions?
In terms of the TCO, it says, evaluate the current TCO for each facility. I'm just wondering, like, how broad and how specific does that get? Is that on a building by building basis? I suspect not on a classroom by classroom basis. And then I guess as a follow-up and under that hat, does it include like our outdoor learning spaces such as the pool, fields?
We have asked for
landscaped areas,
parking lot to roof assessment. So we were not that specific to say, are you going to do the playing field? But we did ask them to do essentially parking lot to roofs, which are the hardscapes on campus and the common areas, which would lend to an evaluation of what it would cost. The common spaces outdoors, that's a good question. I don't know that this proposal exactly itemizes that area, but I can certainly ask that question. I did ask them to look at the parking lots as well as buildings, but it is a building by building analysis.
That one just looks better on you.
All right, any other questions? Okay, is there any public comment? Okay, can I please have a motion?
Approval.
Second?
Okay, motion by trustee Baker and a second by trustee Dodd. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
Thank you.
moving on to summary of 24-25 state budget. Jim Reeves.
Thank you, Vice President Olson. Again, I've been touching on the state budget for the last couple of meetings. The final budget is in. I just wanted to give you just a brief overview. If you'd like to do an in-depth study of the budget, we provided the joint analysis. Did we provide that, Catherine? Yeah, we're not going to read that today. However, it's available to you that provides the detail for the state budget as it relates to community colleges. Remember that they mentioned a lot about apportioned districts, which we are not. We are a community funded district. So many of the conclusions that come to budget in that report are related to those apportioned districts. The areas that affect us most are, there are a few what the state's calling clawbacks, or withdrawing funds for a few programs to fund others. The initiative to fund additional nursing programs in the state is being funded by a pullback of what were called strong workforce programs for funds not spent as of 2020. So we're doing that analysis now, and I've asked our team to look very carefully and make sure that those funds are appropriately encumbered if we have made commitments to those. But we will have those clawed back to the state to fund the state's additional expanded nursing program. The other program is the Student Success Completion Grant. It's a financial aid grant for programs in 2022. Again, we're attempting to do an analysis to see how much was unspent at this point, and we'll provide that information at the next meeting. I want to add that we've been talking about FAFSA applications and the delay in that process that the entire country has experienced. The state has provided an additional 20 million one-time funding across the state to assist financial aid staff to help students complete those financial aid applications. 20 million doesn't trickle down to a lot for us, but it will be helpful in supporting our financial aid staff in getting FAFSA funds completed. That's essentially what I'd like to cover in terms of the state grant and how it impacts the college. I think given what we were hearing last May and even last January, this is kind of a soft landing for Napa Valley College. I think it's a little harder landing for some other institutions, but we've been fortunate in terms of its impact on the college. Some of our categorical programs will actually get an increase, a COLA increase of 1.07%, a nominal increase for some of our selected categorical programs. So that is certainly helpful, not significant, but helpful. So that would conclude my report.
Thank you. Jim, any questions? Okay, moving on to 24-25 Fund 11. Jim?
Thank you, Vice President Olson. Trustee Rios asked for the color-coded presentation so he could follow a little more closely. This is 12-12. 100% of our budget has been committed. I want to caution you that the reports from now until probably through the summer on the 24 fiscal year, or the fiscal year that ended June 30th, will be unaudited, which means that we have not completed all of our entries or reclasses. So this is what we'll call a progress report, but it is as of the end of the fiscal year. So you can see on the revenue side, we're at about 98% of revenue. We anticipate we'll get a little more property tax revenue coming in, but we're pretty close. And 98% is pretty close, but certainly we'd like to be at 105%, but that's not going to happen this year. On the expense side, in terms of salaries, you'll see that the total is 98%, which we are on target. You'll notice that the faculty, full-time and temporary faculty or part-time, are 103, 102%. Well, we've projected early on in your adjusted budget a number we thought was going to be pretty close. The classifications and the 1% salary increase that the board approved for the faculty salary schedule is there, and it bumped up our salaries a bit for the end of the year. Our benefits are sitting at 96%, so we are on target there. Our total books and supplies are at 93%, still a good number. Our total other operating supplies are at 93%. There are some variances. You'll see 153% up under professional services. Certainly some areas that we need to look at as we move into our new budget year. Our total expenditures are 95% of budget, or 47,075,000 as compared to budget. So we're trending in a very positive direction, generally speaking. We have a few outliers, as you see in the variances, but not enough to be of concern, certainly at this point, relative to the fiscal year ends 6/30/24 budget. And while we're not printing any reserves yet, we do anticipate a little better reserve number than we finished with last year. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Trustee Baker?
Will you be bringing, I know now that we're in the new year, we'll start getting the 1 out of 12 and 2 out of 12, but will you be bringing an updated version of this document over the next couple of months as things kind of finish?
If you'd like to see it on a monthly basis, it will be an iterative presentation until the audit finally closes it. But I'd be happy to do that.
Be nice to see that, just
Mhm.
also for
See how it
future
changes.
reference. Yeah.
Right, any other questions? Okay, moving on to item 10.1, board policy revisions, second reading.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Right, motion made by trustee Dodd and seconded by trustee Baker. I forgot to ask, is there any public comment? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
I don't think you had a chance to ask.
I
for
know, you butted in there.
it In your defense.
All right, item 11.1, reports. There are no constituent group representatives present. So we are going to move forward to the president and board reports, item 12.1.
Thank you. I believe I have the first report from Academic Affairs. So as we gear up for the fall semester, I wanted to highlight and feature some of the changes that are upcoming for our library, which is very exciting. On Monday, we have a new librarian, full-time librarian, tenure track, who is starting. And there's a little bit of background information about her if you're interested in learning more about where she comes from. She was an Access Services and Emerging Technologies librarian at Diablo Valley College, has a breadth of experience across different institutions. And she cites our HSI status and our focus on equity and diversity of our student body as some of the reasons she's interested in working here. So we're very excited to have her starting. We are also actively recruiting for a learning resources assistant, and we hope to fill that soon. And we are in the process of hiring student workers for the library. We also have a volunteer who's going to start working shortly. So we are shoring up our staffing in the library, and that will help us in expanding our hours for fall 2024. So we'll be staying open until 6:30. We did try 2 days a week this past year, staying open till 7. And we found that there were very, very, very few students staying until 7 o'clock. So that's how we came to the 6:30 close time, and we'll see how traffic goes. Also, we are doing an assessment of our library space utilization. Our goal really is we want more students coming into the library and learning about the services that are offered there. And so one of the things that we're in the process of doing is going through our special collections room. It's really an interesting collection of resource materials It includes some historical texts about Native peoples, a number of local publications. We can get a lot of history on Napa Valley in this room. We're preserving those and archiving them and moving them to another space, which is going to be more suited to preserving those materials. And that will open up the special collection space. And we're looking at moving the student-facing group into that room. We also are in the process of adding a children's family corner to the library. We want to encourage families to come in together and read with their children if they would like. So those are some changes that are in the works for the library. And we welcome you to stop by and visit and meet Linda if you have time. Thank you.
I think it just skips to me now. If I can call your attention to the report from the Vice President of Administrative Services, just a few of the highlights here. Our student housing update. We continue to work very diligently in our marketing and outreach efforts and our contact with students. And I have an updated number here, top of page 2. We have inquiries, just under 900 people have inquired about our program. Applications in progress are 285, and the fully executed license agreements are at 70 today. That's a number lower than we anticipated. We continue to work that pool. We have, as mentioned before, extended our electronic marketing reach. In addition, we put some of the ads in local walk-in theaters that have the advertising prior to a movie that will flash our advertising information about Napa Valley College and our ability to house students. So that work continues on a very brisk basis as we get close to move in. Our Wine Education Center is moving along. Demolition has been completed and initial grading. The last page of the report will provide you a regular update on some of the data, the budget, and the timing. And we've included the initial report as the last page of this report. We are moving forward with a proposal to the Board of Trustees to implement an enterprise-wide solar energy solution. And for the next meeting, we'd like to make for information purposes only, a presentation about supporting the solar solution, in addition to details about what that solution might look like as an information item at the August meeting. So please look forward to that. And then I provided you an update on what's going on with enterprise and auxiliary services. I won't go over every item there. However, they are very busy these days doing trips and tours, the wine club. They're responsible for the bookstore and some other areas. So with that, I would conclude my report unless there are other questions.
All right. Well, I'm bringing it home on the president's report. And as you can tell, I'm not there, but I am back on the clock, and it's good to be back. It's been an incredibly busy July, the tail end of June and early July. I'm happy to report that my family and I survived our first family trip to Disneyland with a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, which was no small accomplishment, given the fact that my kids are not Disney kids. And we learned that the hard way. Just a few things from me. We closed out June, the cabinet did, having our cabinet retreat, which was a very productive time for us. It gave us the chance to start really doing the planning work necessary for us to really, identify what our cabinet goals are going to be relative to what both the board goals have been, what we established within the educational master plan, and the Vision 2030 goals from the state chancellor's office as well. We established a rubric that aligns all of these goals together, so that gives us more clarity in identifying what our cabinet goals are, which we have a draft version that we're working on this month, and that we'll be rolling out at the August board meeting and to the rest of campus as well, along with my president's goals for the year. And again, the mission or the theme for this year is going to ensure that we have consistency in terms of alignment with all of these different plans and goals, which fortunately for us, they align very cleanly and very clearly. This past week, very busy for me. On Monday, I had the privilege of speaking at the CAPSE conference, the California Association of Black School Educators, on a panel with 2 other CEOs, with educators from all across the country. Although it's California based, we had folks coming from down south, from Florida, from the East Coast as well. So it was a fairly packed group. We were at the Meritage and had the chance to really connect and formulate some strong bonds and connections with other educators across the country. And of course, I'm not there today because I am at UCLA at the Luskin Center for the Wheelhouse Conference. I was one of the fortunate few to be chosen as a Wheelhouse Fellow, and I am learning quite a bit here at the conference today that I think is going to directly translate to some of our goals, moving not just into 24-25, but beyond. And so I'll be back physically on campus Monday, and really looking forward to getting back in the office and starting to do the final prep work for what's going to be a very auspicious year for us at NVC. And with that, I think we conclude our President's Area reports.
Thank you, Dr. Powell. We hope you said good things about your Board of Trustees at the CAPSE conference.
Always. Yes, I sing your praises wherever I go, deservedly.
All right, that's it for President and Board reports. We are going to move on to Standing Committee and other appointment reports. I have a very brief report about District Auxiliary Services Board. We had our meeting a couple weeks ago, pretty short meeting. A few items of note is that we launched the print services for external customers and also support the District Auxiliary Services will support food services across campus once River Trail Village is fully operational. Our budget and program budgets incorporate a new program level budget for the NVC print shop, which is pretty exciting. And we extended our contract for a year with Napa Broadcasting. And that is all I have to report from the last DOS meeting. Viticulture and Winery Foundation Board of Directors, Trustee Rios.
No report.
Okay. NVC Foundation, Trustee Dodd.
We have a meeting on Wednesday of next week. Also, Storm Cup, which we're working on as well, is actually doing incredibly well. We've already exceeded or matched effectively what we did last year, and we've still got a month to go to get sponsorships and actually
Wonderful.
fill out the tournament too. So that's it's progressing in a very positive direction.
Wonderful. All right, item 12.4, trustee and board chair reports. We'll start with student trustee Gonzalez. Do you have anything to report?
Yes, okay. So for the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society, we're still in the process of planning the specifics for the college project, which is the advisory council. So we're looking at how often the group will meet and how we're going to recruit students and the structure for the meetings, whether they'll be in person or hybrid, depending on, of course, the students we recruit and what they prefer. And for ASMVC, my update is that the Office of Student Life is planning a 2-day ASMVC fall retreat on August 6th and 7th. That includes trainings and discussions on ASMVC responsibilities, meetings, budgets, and other important topics.
Wonderful. Thank you, Trustee Gonzalez. Trustee Kishnev,
I have nothing to report.
Trustee DeLuna,
Thank you.
Trustee Baker.
Only that I participated in the July 4th parade. It was hot. But Denise did an amazing job of coordinating everything, and we gave out thousands of fans, and we could have given out thousands more. So next year, more fans. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Trustee Dodd,
Nothing to report.
Trustee Rios.
Nothing to report.
And I also have nothing to report. This is, I think, a record. We're going to finish our meeting in 40 minutes. Pretty amazing. Thank you for making it easy on me for my first meeting as chair. Our next meeting will be on August 15th. And unless there are any objections to adjourning this meeting is adjourned at 5:09.
Have a good night, everyone.